Hi, I'm Lori Craig with OLO Marker. Today I'm excited to be here to share an exclusive Scrapbook.com OLO Marker collaboration. OLO is a premium quality alcohol marker at a fantastic price point. Has beautiful, vibrant color, smooth blending, easy to use, and we're excited to show you 8 gorgeous colors that have been selected just for the Scrapbook.com audience. I have a lot of information to share and 3 fun techniques that will make it easy to transition alcohol marker coloring into your paper craft projects today. So let's get started. Let's take a look at this exclusive collaboration set between Scrapbook.com and OLO Marker. You'll recognize these colors, and I'm going to show you how to have a great time and make some fantastic projects with the 8 colors that are included. So the set's going to come to you with 8 colors of marker, and you will notice right away that you are getting all brush nibs on all 8 of your markers. So when you take a look at the back of the packaging, you'll notice a couple of taglines that are specific to OLO. Your markers are customizable, exceptional quality. You can refill them with a replacement cartridge, unparalleled value for the amount of ink that you get in each marker and for the amount of ink that you are able to use, and then super smooth blending. So I want to show you how I would approach putting these colors together and then make a few projects. Right away, you'll see that you're going to get a beautiful collection of rainbow, and you have 8 markers, and each one of these halves, what you would look at and consider a half, is a full marker's worth of ink. So you have 8 markers and you have 4 connector rings. So when I get ready to put these together and work with them in my space, I'm going to take a marker here, screw the ring in, and then I'm going to assemble all of my markers just like this. So we'll have a different color on each end. The color caps are awesome. And we take a lot of effort at OLO to actually match the cap color to the ink that's inside. So this helps you when you're using them in your own space. Really look at what you have and pick and pull colors that are accurate to what you were looking for in your mind. Once I have assembled all 4 of these pairs, now I have got 4 colors on one end and 4 colors on the other. So let's just take a look at these colors in the Scrapbook.com exclusive color range. This is R2.4. It's a beautiful berry red, and you can see here how closely the cap matches that colorway. That's a beautiful hinky red to get you started. Here's more of a traditional true red. This is R0.4. And then on the flip side of that, I've attached O1.3. It's a beautiful orange. And then I'm going to go for a bright yellow. This is Y11. Now, when you see me coloring the paper, keep in mind that part of what you're seeing initially is the moisture of the marker, and that will evaporate and just leave you with a nice, smooth color right on your paper. This is YG2.3, one of my favorite greens. We go to a BG 2.5. I'm going to flip that over to B2.2. Beautiful sky blue color. Again, take a look at how close you have an accuracy from ink to cap matching. It's just an extra little touch, but it really does make a big difference when you are in your workspace. And finally, rounding out this collection with Violet 2.3. So each one of the letters here stands for the color family that you are looking for: red, orange, yellow, yellow-green, blue-green, blue, and violet. And then the first number tells you what hue this marker is. And most often, or in general, what you can think is the closer you are to 0, the more you have a true color, a true picture of that color. This is a pure red. As you increase the number 1, 2, we've kind of stopped here at 2. Noted with the 0s, 1s, and 2s in this specific set that's selected just for you at scrapbook.com, we are really working with true vibrant hues in this collection of projects. So beautiful, beautiful palette to work with. So let's kind of set that aside, and then let me kind of show you some tips and tricks and how I would use these colors. A lot of times when you talk about alcohol markers, you'll hear people speak about blending pairs, but I wanted to show you 3 fantastic cards that you can create as soon as you get this kit with only the colors that are included. You might want an OLO 0. This is our clear, colorless solution. We use it to correct mistakes and add texture within a design, but primarily I am only working with these 8 colors. And so what I have are some die cuts from the classic casserole set. This is a new die cutting set from Hero Arts. I was shocked at how big the pieces were. Shocked in a good way at how big those pieces were. And this is one of my favorite ways to use standalone markers. So I'm just going to select a color. The caps will post right on the back of the marker for you. And then I'm going to just color over each one of these die cut pieces. Notice how I'm kind of keeping the edge of the ink wet, and I'm working very methodical across the piece of cardstock. What that will do is give me a very smooth application of color from the nib to the paper, and I don't have any coloring lines in my piece. Now I'm going to flip to the orange, the O 1.3 in your set, and I'm just going to color back and forth across this piece. So the reason that I like this technique is that it allows me to easily cut all of my die cuts from one piece of paper and then do my own color selection with the marker to add vibrant hue to those. Here I've got the Y 1.1, bright yellow. Notice that I'm just working back and forth across the paper to keep all of the edges of that ink wet. And then I'm going to, this is the R 2.4. So very quickly, I have 4 unique pieces for a die cut. Let me show you the finished card, how that turns out. So how fast and easy is that? You've just got a nice little gray background on the back with a companion set. You add your pieces. There's a layering piece that matches up with each one of these casserole dishes. And I love this technique. Very easy. You don't need a lot of colors. It's just an awesome technique for coloring. Next up, let me show you another one of my favorite tips. And this card, I think you're going to love this. This is more of a rainbow technique. I'm going to start with my R 2.4. And I'm just going to come back and forth with the wide brush. So these brushes are awesome. They are made in Japan. They're very high quality. They give you a nice smooth application. You can be on the side of the brush, or you can get up on the point for some detail work, which I'll show you in a few minutes. But then I'm going to switch to a violet color. This is that V 2.3, and I'm just going to bring that in. And I'm going to go rainbow order across this piece of cardstock. So I am working on the OLO Marker Premium Alcohol Marker Blending card. So I've added my blue here, and I'm going to overlap violet just a little bit to give it some shading. And I'm going to switch to my teal. The moisture of the alcohol is what lets the blending happen, and that's what keeps everything smooth. I'm going to switch back to my B 2.2 just for a minute, and I'm going to kind of go back over this dark blue-green just to kind of lighten it up and give that a little bit of transition. I'm going to switch to the YG 2.3 and come to the other side. So you can do this with any assortment of colors that you like. But of course, in paper crafting, a lot of times we are partial to the Roy G. Biv. And I'm going to switch to yellow. This is a Y 1.1. Do a little bit of overlap of that previous green to get the transition. Then I'm going to switch to my O 1.3, back and forth. And then finally, I'm going to switch to my last red, the R0.4. And I'm going to meld that into the orange. Back with the orange a little bit to just kind of soften that transition and get a little bit of a flow from orange to the red. Okay. So I love this look. Let me show you how this turns out on a finished card. Okay, this is the Blossoms and Branches background die. Simply die cut my piece, put it on a black background, added a little bit of splatter. So very fun, really bright. I do not know a papercraft friend that wouldn't love to receive this card. Let me show you 2 more ways that I would use these 8 markers to do some more traditional type blending. Here I have the Here For You bundle. So I've stamped some big posies from the Here For You stamp set, and then I will cut those out in just a few minutes and pop them up on a card. But let's color both of these flowers in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with both of these reds. So because these reds both end with a last number of 4, this tells me the value or how light or how dark the markers are in these particular color families. So this 4 matches up really well with this 4. So I know that I can put these colors together and do some blending and have a really nice little transition from one shade to the next. So I'm going to start with my R2.4, and at the same time I'm going to take my cap off of the R0.4, and I'm just going to bring in a little bit of the 2.4 at the base of my petals, and then I'm going to come back with the 0.4 and kind of blend that out. Now this is going to be a really bold look, but I'm just going to keep that edge of ink wet and work petal by petal. And it gives me a little bit of a transition from the pinky red to the red out to towards the end of the petal. And look how smooth that color is. And I just work one petal at a time all the way around the flower. You can see you get just a slight variation of the reds, enough to give it a little bit of interest, but you still have a really pretty monochromatic look on these petals, and I think it looks super sharp. This lends itself really well to a clean and simple card design, so something you can put together pretty quickly. Or you could have a whole bouquet of flowers. It's up to you. I'm just going to come back at the end with the R0.4, and I'm going to catch the underside of each of these petals. There's no rhyme or reason to what I picked. You could choose either one. And then I'm going to pick my O1.3, and I'm just going to come in and kind of dot some color into the center. And I'll pick up my YG2.3 to give a nice solid splash of green on my leaves. Notice with that brushed nib, I can get into the thin spaces of the leaves or of the stem, and then I can brush out on the side of the brush and do full coverage on the leaf. Let me show you how I would use that colorless 0 marker. So here I have a brush tip, I have the colorless 0, and here I was outside the lines just a little bit. So I'm going to take that 0 marker and just push that ink, and then I'm going to let that dry. And what it does is, as that alcohol evaporates, it will push that dye back underneath the stamped line. I've stamped my images with a hybrid ink. Many of your favorite stamp companies produce hybrid ink, and it will say specifically hybrid on the label. So that's what I've done there. Let me show you a more traditional or a more of a two-toned blending that was really super fun. What if I want these petals to kind of gradually transition from orange out to yellow? Here I'm going to pick up the O1.3 and the Y1.1. I'm going to start with the O1.3 just because I want that in the center. It's a little bit heavier color because it ends in a 3 and the yellow here ends in a 1, but they transition beautifully. So I'm going to drop in. Notice I'm using a little flick stroke. You can see the little points in the petal. And then I'm going to come back with the Y1.1, and I'm just going to flick right over the top of that. And it will feather out those points and give you a nice little transition from orange to yellow out toward the end of the petal. And then I'm just going to work one petal at a time. So if I work one petal at a time, I can keep the paper wet, and that's what allows the blending to transpire. Notice I work over the top of the orange and then come out toward the end of the petal once I've got some softening where those two colors meet. So a little bit of orange, back and forth over that orange with the tip of my yellow to kind of soften up that line, and then take that yellow out to the end of the petal. I think you'll love this. It gives you a nice transition. You've got a variation of color. You're only using 2 markers. Super easy. This is a great transition if you're new to alcohol marker, and it's a fun technique if you want to get a lot of things colored really quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to go over that where the orange ends to soften it up, and then draw the color out with my yellow. So a little bit of orange that I'm flicking in. I'm going to soften up that space where the orange meets the white with my yellow, and then I'm going to continue to fill in the petal with my yellow. I love this two-tone effect, and it works really well when your colors are either the last number is the same or very close together, in this case the 1 or the 3. And here's a little trick that I like. If you get to the end and you're not completely satisfied with your blending, or you want to add a little bit of depth and texture to your project, come back with that darker orange that's in the center. Use the tip of the brush and just kind of add a few little dots of texture. Looks really realistic, kind of bridges over where you've done your blending. And it helps you kind of look not so intentional, which is often the desired look with marker. And then we'll add a little bit of pink in the center. I'm just going to dot in a little bit of that R 2.4. And then I'm going to come back with that O 1.3 and kind of fill in the white space. Let's do some two-tone on these leaves as well. Here we have the Y 1.1 and the YG 2.3. And so I'm going to use the side of my brush on these leaves, and I'm going to flick in a little bit of the green. And then I'm going to come back from the opposite end with the yellow, and I'm going to flick toward that green. And that gives me a nice two-tone look to the way the leaves finished off. Super easy. And look, we're just using 8 markers here. There are a variety of sets in the store, but I think you're going to love this exclusive. This collection of colors, the way that it is arranged, is only available at scrapbook.com. We're excited to bring this to you and to partner with scrapbook.com. So let's look at the finished card here. Remember, this is a Here For You bundle from Hero Arts. And so I've just die cut my pieces, popped it over a piece of embossed cardstock, added the sentiment, and finished. There you go. That's a brief introduction to the scrapbook.com OLO Marker exclusive collaboration set with 8 beautiful hues, 3 different blending techniques. I can't wait to see how you put your markers together and the projects that you come up with. Until next time, have a great day.